This is Red Eyes Radio. Good day and good evening, my friends, wherever you are. Welcome to Red Eyes Radio. This is our weekly show here on bbsradio.com, and you can hear us every Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time or 9 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And this is Henrik Palmgren, your host and editor of the Red Eyes website. That's the red-ice.net website. And I'm coming to you live from the west coast of Sweden. I hope you tuned in last week and heard the first part of our series that I'm honored to be able to continue today with Michael Tsarion. This is part 2 of our 6-part series that we are doing. And today we will also continue with our contest. And last week, Petri Andelin from Västerås in Sweden called in during the end of the show with the correct answer. So congratulations to Petri. And he chose the Atlantis Alien Visitation and Genetic Manipulation DVD. And we still have 5 DVDs left from Michael Tsarion's Origins and Oracle series to hand out. So participate today in the contest and call us in with the correct answer to Michael's question, and you will be able to pick one of those 5 remaining DVDs. And we can give out the number right now also, so you'll be ready when it's time. And the number you should call is 1-877-876-5227. And remember, if you are calling us from outside the US, just add 001 in front of that number. And again, that number is 1-877-876-5227. And we'll be giving out the number again later on. So and you can always find the details and the numbers on either bbsradio.com, or if you follow the links to today's program from my site, red-ice.net. Okay, so stay tuned. The contest is coming up. But hey, let's bring Michael on now so we can get this show on the road. Hey, son, Michael, and welcome back to the program, my friend.
Hey, son, Henrik, nice to be back.
Yeah, great. And, we said that we should, to dive right into where we left off last time, and I think you were in the middle of a point, to get the show on the road. Maybe you like to, continue where you left off.
All I was saying, I think it was actually just a minor point, but it was thematic in nature because of it was the first show we were doing. It was really good, just in case people are joining us or listening to the archive later.
Yeah.
I was trying to put together a couple of themes. I mean, obviously the biggest theme, is the concept that we're talking about the origin of secret society symbolisms, the actual origin of the Bible and Judaism and all of these concepts leading back to Egypt, not in a vague way, but in a very specific way to the 18th dynasty of Egypt.
Yeah.
That's the big theme, the overarching thing. But, I was introducing other themes, and basically just the idea, I think that, we're living in a world of contradiction and confusion.
Yeah.
In almost every conceivable area of human studies. But there's one thing that the human mind cannot argue around, and that is that the human brain or the human mind did not create nature. We're seeking God, we're seeking all of these things in order to, through projection of the human ego.
Yeah.
We create gods, we create goddesses. But the whole idea is that there is outside of us this perfect universe, which represents the perfect universe inside of ourselves. And there it is in all its perfection, not created, not plugged in, and not, formed from consciousness.
Yeah.
The trees, the mountains, the clouds, the oceans, they don't possess the kind of consciousness that we have, and yet there they are in perfect balance. So the point I was leaving off with last week was that it's very important for us to stay very grounded in reality. and realize that the natural order is not a man-made invention, but that God is. You know, people can literally go and stand in temples in Egypt where the concept of God began. Now, I know this is a very fugitive, you know, and radical concept to those people who, you know, who maybe are part of a religious culture.
Yeah.
But we've got to understand that if you are part of modern religion today, the tendency is for you to be very narrow-minded,
Yeah.
just to take things for granted and to accept what you have been told by your authorities. It probably hasn't dawned on people that are part of churches and part of religion that, you know, that these things are relatively new. The
Yeah.
concepts are put before us. The Bible itself has been translated endlessly. It bears very little resemblance to the original, you know, authorship.
Yeah.
The Dead Sea Scrolls proved that. You know, when the Dead
Yeah.
Sea Scrolls came along, they were suppressed.
Yeah.
The Vatican was in terrible fear about what the Dead Sea Scrolls were going to show, and rightly so, because the Dead Sea Scrolls contradicted almost every basic tenet of official Christianity. So from within the academia, from within theological studies, there's been enormous contradiction.
Yeah.
So the point I was making last week is that simply we have to understand that these things that we call gods and temples and priestarchies, you know, these things are concoctions of men. When we're talking about Akhenaton, any great modern demagogue, we have to understand that these individuals are very political, but they're also very theological.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a double-headed eagle situation here. We have theology on one side, and we have monarchy or autocracy on another side.
Yeah.
But the point that I was going to make last week is that the damaging thing is that whenever you accept that there is a God that is remote from you, because when we're talking monotheism, specifically monotheism, and all the monotheistic religions that are dominant in the world today, the central precept is that that God force is very remote from you. It's isolated, it's alienated, and that you are basically a sinner at the bottom end of the ladder.
Yeah.
And therefore, the fact that there's a gap between you and the intelligence that created you, therefore now you need a series of mediators, or you need a figure between you see.
Yeah.
Now comes the rising of the priestarchy.
Yeah.
You see, a single Moses or a single Akhenaton wandering the desert somewhere is no big threat to anybody. These individuals, how do they gain their power? You know,
Yeah.
most people live and never even see the Pharaoh. They don't even see the king. They don't meet the Archbishop of Canterbury. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So most people are never going to see the Pope or never have a conversation with the Pope.
Exactly.
What is it that gives this incredible power of these people? It's because of the idea that we buy into.
Yeah.
It's not their physical presence in our house or in our street. This is, like I've been saying, that it's a war on consciousness.
Yeah.
And therefore, when you have this concept of religion, we have to be very, on guard, because the early natural pagan philosophies did not separate you from your source.
Yeah.
In fact, they would have seen that as a very, very terrible sickness, because we learned from nature in ancient times, and that was very, 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 pragmatic. That was a thing that was very much in your face.
Yeah.
It wasn't that matter was matter. No, matter was spirit. The ancients couldn't understand the concept of spirit being trapped in matter because they saw matter is infused with spirit. There is no difference between spirit and matter. It's all one. It's all one spiritual energy, one atomistic living organism.
Exactly.
And therefore you didn't really need a mediator between you and that force. You may have had guiding lights. You may have models of great men who had gone ahead of you. But there was no such thing as a priestarchy which was, there to sort of translate whatever this great brooding God in the sky is saying, and then they're going to translate it through a series of hierarchies to you, the person who's completely removed and on your knees and in fear. So that was the basic point, is that we're dealing with critiques of religion and critiques of the institutions of religion.
Yeah.
We're not just, sort of in a sort of a rebellious mode for no reason. We're talking about something here that's an incredible disease that separates human beings from their own light, from their own power, and that is where our philosophical stance comes from. Not just punks throwing out, mudslinging at religion and the people of religion or the edifices of religion for no reason. We have strict philosophical, ideological opposition here.
Yeah.
We're talking from a very intellectual status. We're talking about the poison that tries to drug reason and drugs the human libido,
Yeah.
drugs human desire, and puts all of these hierarchies in between us and our creative force. This is why we take exemption to the authorities that exist today.
Yeah, and I mean, we can translate this, lay it over on top right of our most, modern God, which is money, of course, and how economics works. Because, here too we have a set of, as you say, mediators who translates, what economy is and how it works and all this stuff. And we just, give that power away and give that power up and just let someone else translate it. So I guess that, this kind of philosophy that you're describing here obviously have worked in the past and still is working today.
And that's right. And therefore, when you know that you're raped of your own sovereign power and your own inherent, the sovereign, the real thing, the platinum, the gold, and the silver type of power that you have within your own soul, when you don't have that, well, then you'll accept lead, you'll accept the lower form. And money provides that. It's an extension of human will to power. And what you will do, now that you've accepted that there's a master-slave dichotomy, now that you accept that there is a hierarchy, you go, well, look, if I can just get one level higher up than I am, can you just promote me to a higher part of the pyramid, a higher part of the hierarchy? Then I'll be happy.
Yeah.
I can't step out of that hierarchy because I'm afraid to be alone. I'm afraid to be an outlaw. I'm afraid to stand. I have no independence.
Yeah.
I use the word independence. Well, hell, the whole of America uses the word independence and individuality, and yet it's never to be seen. It's never to be seen on the social level. It's not to be seen on the governmental level. It's a completely misuse of a word because nobody has it. So what we do is we say we can't leave the fold. We don't want to leave the city lights, that comfort zone, that consensus trance. So I'll tell you what, I will be happy. I'm pretty unhappy with the cell that I'm occupying. So could you give me a few cushions?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's
bizarre. So this is what we do. So everyone that you see, they're all prisoners. They're all in a cage, but some have, cages of gold, and some have cages of iron.
Yeah.
And this is how also then the world system works. Whenever you have a disgruntled person or an individual who's maybe smart enough to not like what they see, well, the world system often says, well, okay, we understand you're rebellious. Guess what? We'll just promote you.
Yeah.
Instead of being the private, we'll make you a major.
Yeah.
How's that? And most people go, okay.
We'll make you enjoy what you're doing. So.
Pardon?
Yeah, we'll make you enjoy what you're doing, your misery, and we'll drag you
further. Give you authority over the other ones lower than you. And this is what the priests and some of the philosophers and many of the politicians are doing. People say, why do they never break ranks? Why does nothing change?
Yeah.
Well, because these individuals probably at one time did see through the matrix. People like Winston Churchill are a perfect example. That guy originally wrote exposing secret societies and was very, very into the works of Nesta Webster and other people who were exposing the world conspiracy. Then he turned around and started serving it. Why?
Really?
Because he knew if you're not going to beat it, you might as well join it. So the concept of the hierarchy is we also have to realize that there are people who know better, but then they don't do better because they accept, another level of dominion given to them by the beast. And this is also, something to look out for.
That's because I remember, there are several people. I remember Alan Greenspan reading an article about him, and he also, was against certain types of, how okay, I go back to economy again, but how things are run in that department, and obviously he now became a shill of the the New World Order, basically. So
yes, and there's many examples. Milton Friedman is another one. There's a lot of different examples of this, of people who go through their career. I mean, you can basically say a lot of people on the socialist side, the extreme left, because, of course, on paper, the extreme left are meant to be against